Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to build your own pricing programs with all the details you need to know to get started. We already saw this small example. There's a little setting here which allows you to protect your stock from relative price decreases, and there's a nifty button, duplicate, so we can easily create an example from an existing one. Now what we will do is we will go into here and we will check out some of the functionality that exists. The most important thing to remember is that the bot will always go from top to bottom, and if a rule matches, then it will apply the strategy to the right of the arrow. What you can do is you can always drag a strategy to the right side of an arrow to tell the bot to apply this strategy to this segment of cards. The most important rule to remember is that once the bot found a match and a strategy, or an ignore command, it will stop. So basically, the way to read this is if the command is special, apply cheap cards, and only if the command is not special, we proceed down the rows. Alright, we have built a bunch of rules you can filter by. You can select individual cards with a printing setting. You can select one or multiple expansions with the expansion tab. There is one important thing here. So for example, if we select Innistrad Midnight Hunt, we get a rule that allows us to filter by expansion. We can also negate this rule. So the filter will be not cards from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. The language filter is relatively straightforward. We can select which language our article is in or not. We have a price guide filter, which allows you to segment your stock by value. So for example, I could say the trend value has to be above 10. So those are actually quite expensive cards that I maybe want to treat differently from the rest. Then we have card extra. Here we can select whether a card is foil or not. You already saw this in the previous video. But also, for example, if we want to say that it is a playset, for example, or not a playset. We do offer a card condition filter that works exactly like you know it from our stock view. For example, if you want to select only cards that are mint to near mint, this is how you get the filter. And finally, the common filter. This one also has the negation. So you saw here our comment includes special. We can negate this, and then it would be all cards that don't include the common special. All right, now back to the overall logic here. You have all the strategies, you can edit them, you can drag them to the right of the arrow. Whenever you create a rule here in the rule designer, you can drag it to become part of the list. You can delete them, and you can reorder them by dragging them up or down. Now you might be wondering what happens if I want to segment my stock by multiple criteria. So for example, I care about the foils that are relatively new. So for example, I will just make a simple example. They are from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Of course, you can make this more complex. So here I have basically two options. I will show you the first one, which is I create a rule for Innistrad Midnight Hunt, and I actually drag it below the foil rule. And the way this works is that the bot would see that a card is foil, and it would know which strategy to apply. However, there is a nested rule below it, which tells it to maybe treat Innistrad Midnight Hunt slightly differently. So I probably don't have a good strategy here, but let's say we want to price this with the fancy card strategy. What would happen here is that the bot goes for a foil card, it realizes it's foil, so I will price it with 95% trend. However, if it's also from Innistrad Midnight Hunt, then I will price it according to the fancy card strategy. This is one way to build more complex rules. The other way is to go directly into the rule designer, and instead of dragging the whole rule, you only drag the little filter here. So, and as you can see, it actually highlights a different segment of the board, of the view. And now I could add this expansion Innistrad Midnight Hunt directly to this rule. Now, what I would do is I would delete this one, and we would have a rule that says foil or expansion Innistrad Midnight Hunt is priced according to all files 95% trend. That doesn't make any sense, so I will click here to change it to an AND condition. Now, it's a slightly different behavior, but it would mean all foils that are also from Innistrad Midnight Hunt have their own specific strategy, and it doesn't say anything about other foils. So just to compare the two approaches you have here. And then, well, it's up to you to explore how complex you want to make this, but you can basically design your rules exactly like you want them. So one good example, for example, would be you have your foils, and then we say if they are foils, if they are Japanese foils, we want a very particular pricing strategy, because clearly Japanese foils have to be priced differently from English foils. Just as an example. So here I will use my fancy cards strategy, but I'm still happy that all other foils are priced according to 95% trend. And this would be the way to do it. And now, if you remember, everything that matches the foil criterion is already covered. So everything that happens below this rule would now only apply to non-foils, which means that I actually don't need the non-foil criteria here. I will just remove it. I'll remove this one as well. And I will just say my default for all articles is the strategy for regular cards. So what would happen here is all articles are priced according to the strategy for regular cards. However, if they are foil, they are priced according to all foils 95% trend. And if they are, in addition to being foil, also Japanese, they would be priced according to the fancy cards mechanism. And then what I can do, for example, is I could say if the expansion is also Innistrad Midnight Hunt or Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, then I create a completely new rule which goes below, and this I want to price according to the standard rule set. So to recapitulate, we have the default for all articles is the strategy for regular cards, and here we have a rule that applies to foils, which changes the default, and down here we have a default that applies to cards from Innistrad and Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. However, it always goes top to bottom, so if it's foil from Innistrad or Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, the first rule would actually apply. And this is, in, well, a short overview, the logic behind designing your own pricing programs. Keep in mind that you can always use the verified pricing program to figure out how the pricing will actually work. So maybe to see here, if I have Innistrad Midnight Hunt, I take a random card, you see that it will be priced according to the standard strategy, and if I turn it to a foil, it will be priced according to the foil strategy. If I make it Japanese and foil, it will be priced according to fancy cards. If I make it only Japanese, it's going to be priced according to standard rule. And if I had picked my Jace again, it would actually be priced according to the strategy for regular cards, because it's not foil and it's not from these two expansions. All right, we're almost done here. Let's go back and close the rule designer, because the final thing that we will do is we will also test run this example. So I will test the bigger example on my account, start it, and wait a few seconds. So the way this works is actually we are not pricing all the stock during a test run, but only a subset of it for performance reasons. So mostly the test functionality is there to figure out whether the pricing is according to your specifications. So to quickly check, we should see different strategies used here. We can start with the foils. And the foils have all foils 95% trend. However, if I select language Japanese, we will see here that the strategy fancy cards was used. If we have non-foils, we will actually see that the strategy is the strategy for regular cards. So this is basically how you confirm that the pricing is working as expected. And then in the settings, you can activate the pricing bot for the program you have designed. And then there will be a nightly price update for your whole collection. As always, let us know if you have any issues or problems. Come to our Discord and our support will help you out. It's another complex feature, but it's so powerful, and we believe that this will really revolutionize the way you price your stock. Maybe you will even let the bot do most of the work and only occasionally have to do manual updates on your own. We are super excited for this feature, and I hope you like it as well.